big win for women's sports. But common sense will tell you it never should have gotten to this point. Sometimes the Supreme Court gets it right. Not with birthright citizenship, but we're not talking about that today. We'll get into that a later day, I guess, maybe. But let's take the win where we can get it. Good for you. Good for all the women. Good for women athletes. Good for, just people of common sense fighting for this whole thing. And the Supreme Court decided, yes, biological dudes don't belong in women's locker rooms. Did you ever think we'd get to a point in time where you actually had to take that case and that argument to the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land? I didn't either, but here we are. Again, let's try to stay positive, take the win where we can get it. But here's the question, especially for, and I'm a girl dad, but not of athletes, but I have girls, so sensitive to me too. But for this is not completely a slam dunk, pun intended, victory quite yet. There's still 23 states that would allow a biological dude in your daughter's locker room. Is it enough? It's a start. But what do you do if you're in one of those other states? I will tell you, and I'll kind of get to this in a couple of minutes here. I'd move. If it was that important to me, to my daughter, if this was their only, let's say, way out or a chance to get a scholarship or stay safe, I'd move. Not everybody has the ability to do that, but still, that's what it's come to. Anyway, let's get into it. Thanks for finding me. I appreciate you. Wicked Radio live stream and replay. And by the way, I'm putting the entire podcast now after the live stream on TikTok to try to counteract the ridiculous algorithm on X that's driving me crazy these days. And it gets a great response on TikTok, so I'm putting it on there. And also the audio podcast, wherever you like to get those. Let's get right to it. Let's go to ABC News with the official announcement. This is one of those big decisions that came from the Supreme Court yesterday. Again, it had to go to the highest court in the land. I give credit to ABC News for actually keeping it a pretty on-the-level, fair description of this win because other news outlets weren't so good. Here's what they said.
We have breaking news. The Supreme Court is upholding state laws banning transgender athletes from participating in girls' sports. In the 6-3 decision, Justice Brett Kavanaugh says the Title IX and the Constitution allow sex-based separation in athletics for fairness and safety. ABC News legal.
Still 6-3. There are still three people, Supreme Court justices. A job for life, who thought it's okay. But that's neither here nor there. Here's where I congratulate ABC News, because they actually kept it on the level in their description of it. Transgender athletes. That I can deal with. That's fine. Because other outlets, including some of your favorites like CNN, MS Now, others, the BBC, weren't so on the level where they described it. Transgender women not allowed in locker rooms, according to Supreme. No, that's your problem. Let's start right there. First and foremost, before anything, because that's a big part of how we got to this nonsense, is the description. This is where words matter. They're not transgender women. They're dudes. Let's call a spade and call it what it is and get on the level, because this is where you start to spin reality into something that it's not. So, you know who called out the BBC yesterday? Another champion for women's rights? J.K. Rowling. That's right. Harry Potter J.K. Rowling. She's fun at this. And she's got like FU money where she doesn't have to worry about the pushback. So good for her for actually doing that. But there have been others. Now, a lot of these people, the names you know because they've been thrust into the national spotlight. And yes, there's a political side to this where they were kind of like boosted up by the Republicans for this. One of those is Paula Scanlon. Now, she was a swimmer at UPenn, and she's become one of these people that's a national voice for this. Didn't go into life wanting to be this person, but she's accepted it and she's fought for it. Here's what she said yesterday, because she was involved with, directly, one of the stories that brought this entire insane issue to the national forefront. Remember Leah Thomas, the 6'4" dude that was taking all those women's swimming titles at the University of Penn, an NCAA Division I swimmer? This lady, Paula Scanlon, was in a locker room with him a lot, and their team, her coaches, her school said, just put up with it. And she didn't. Good for her.
I was a swimmer at the University of Pennsylvania, and they allowed a 6'4" tall man named Leah Thomas to join my team. And in that, I learned that it felt unfair. Men and women are different. But really, more than anything else, is that if we're going to have women's sports, they're worth protecting. If we're going to have a women's category, it needs to be defined. If we're going to have...
Yes, and, she brings up a couple of great points there. This is why she's so well-spoken on it and why she's actually someone to listen to. She dealt with it directly, and this was the story that brought this to the attention of most people. It had been going on. It had been starting for a long time, but the Leah Thomas story, because it was just such a stark, actual visual Sometimes it takes a visual reminder for us to see how insane something is. This 6'4" dude, Leah Thomas, against all the other swimmers. I mean, like, visually, you could tell this was completely unfair. But then Paula Scanlon, went out to tell the story about being forced, and no one would listen to her, being forced to be in the locker room with that dude. That's what got the national attention, where we said, that doesn't seem right. In fact, that seems absolutely, completely insane. So that's what brought the issue to the national level. But then you had the politicians jumping in, the pandering, ridiculous politicians. Not all of them Democrats, by the way. Let's be completely fair here. There were some rhino Republicans doing the same thing, but mostly Democrats, like this guy. Just the other day, Ed Markey from my home state of Massachusetts, one of the dumbest people ever to sit in Congress. And that's saying a lot, I get it. Special Ed Markey. Here he was, still pandering for this insane issue. Here, just the other day, before the Supreme Court decision.
On the last day of Pride Month, the Supreme Court just cleared the way for Trump and MAGA Republicans to discriminate against the trans community. This ruling is inhumane, it is unjust, and it is completely...
What an absolute, complete, pandering, lying moron. I mean, truly. I mean, that's what you had on the other side. But why did the politicians come out like that and come out? Because people were starting to speak out, like Paula Scanlon, or another one that rose to national prominence because of this entire thing, again, boosted up by people. There was a political side to this, is Riley Gaines. So the fight went on back and forth till we finally got the Supreme Court decision yesterday. She did, to her credit, she was another athlete, Division I, again, a swimmer, who was dealing with this crap. Well, I got her reaction on this big win yesterday. What'd she say?
I feel absolutely vindicated. I feel, of course, excited. I feel optimistic about the future. But I think the feeling that I feel the most of is vindicated, right? I think not just myself, but most people, especially those with large platforms who have taken the stance that Michaela and Jen and myself have taken over the years, we have been the target of some pretty horrific campaigns.
True. Now, let's just be honest here and let's be on the level. Does she have that national front? And I think she was sitting there in her studio, and she does a lot of media. Does she have that platform if she hadn't been kind of like boosted up by certain people with a vested interest in making sure? No, it's true. But let's give her credit, because when you're part of that platform and a national voice, like Paula Scanlon, Riley Gaines took a lot of heat and a lot of attacks, but she wasn't the only one. Before we get into that, there were other people who don't have that national platform. Women athletes, girls, who just spoke out against it, and they were attacked too. That's what got me incensed about this. Just normal high school, even younger, some middle school girls, athletes, speaking out against this when they were forced by their school district or their team or their community or whatever it is to just put up with the boys pretending to be girls in the locker room. Just put up with it. You're homophobic. Or you're transphobic. No, they're not. They just wanted safety. Those are the ones we need to stand up for. But again, they didn't have the national platform. How about this girl? This is the kind of attack that happened by an organized mob that went after people who are just trying to have common sense in the entire issue, and no one would listen to her. Listen to this girl's story.
My name's Ella Fry. I'm 17. I do long jump, I play volleyball, and I go to school in Richmond, Wisconsin. When my school let a biological male into the girls' restroom without telling the parents, I went to the school board with my name attached in my own town. I got bullied for it, harassed online, and some of the teachers even encouraged the harassment in the students. I'm still here because here's what I know. The net in women's volleyball is set nearly a foot lower with a reason. A biological male could hit a volleyball across that net with force that could seriously injure a girl. In track, all it takes is 3 biological males entering the women's category, and not a single girl will stand on the podium.
Is she wrong? I mean, do you have any reason to not believe her? Do you think she's lying about this? There's just a normal person that doesn't have the platform of like Paula Scanlon or Riley Gaines that's gained prominence throughout this whole issue. She's just a kid that, in I think she said Wisconsin, that just spoke up. And what happened? She was doxxed by a mob. Not just in her own community. That started there, but the entire country. She was called every name in the book. They attacked her family over this. Why? Think about why. Because she didn't want to compete against boys, and she didn't want them in her locker room. This is the level of insanity that we dealt with. That's the level of craziness. That's why it's so important that they got such a big win yesterday. But it's only a start. That's what you got to keep in mind. All the headlines will tell you that it's like, no boys and girls locker rooms, yay, big thing. You have to keep up the fight, which is why people like that are still fighting. There's still 23 states that will allow this crap. The number's going to go down because now there's a legal precedent for it. But what about the other states? What do you do? Back to Paula Scanlon for a second, because she made a great point about this. The fight's not over for them.
Yeah, it's a great win, but absolutely what I just heard is more work needs to be done. We need to see protections in all 50 states in this country. Why should a girl in Texas have different rights than a girl in Connecticut or in New York? And that's exactly what we're seeing here. And it's disappointing also to learn that it's not 9-0. That was something that I'm upset about, but I will say I take this win, and this is now giving Congress the right to say, hey, the Supreme Court agrees with you. Let's pass legislation and make this national rule that men do not belong in women's sports.
Good idea. Can you? Should you? Oh, that's going to be an even bigger fight. Oh, no, there's still the lunatics will fight you over this one. It's insane that it got to this point. But like she said, and she makes another good point, let's take the win as a win. But it leaves the question, and this is where normal people are involved with this fight too. What do you do? What do you do if you're in one of those states? And the background of the story is, in the Supreme Court fight, it was based out of an argument in West Virginia, taken on the Supreme Court to allow this, that West Virginia and all other states have the right, if they want to keep biological men out of women's sports and women's locker rooms. I think it's funny. I think it's ironic, anyway, that it's coming from West Virginia. We know that state. Beautiful state, but there's a lot of poor communities. Can't you imagine? And that's not the only state like this, but can't you imagine that for a lot of girls, that's their only opportunity to get a scholarship, right? Their only way out. And say they're in some mining town, but they're a great volleyball player or soccer player, but competing against boys who are taking their scholarships. Don't you think they deserve that fair shot? Or not even getting in the safety level. Why should a 6'4" dude like Paula Scanlon's story? Why should Leah Thomas be naked in front of her when she worked her whole life to get a scholarship to UPenn? It's not fair and it's not right. But the really unfair part is anybody that spoke out against this was severely attacked and doxxed and called every name in the book and lost opportunities and lost scholarships. You don't believe me? Let's just go for a quick search right now and find out. You can go to ChatGPT. You could go to Google. I went to Grok, whatever you want to do. What are some examples of female athletes either being cheated or injured by male athletes? We all talked about Leah Thomas, right? As a male, became number one in women's NC2A 500-yard freestyle swimmer. Competing against women. As a male, couldn't do anything. Oh, we all know that. CC Telfer, track and field, competed mediocrity as a male after transitioning, won the 2019 NC2A Division I women's 400-meter hurdle. Right. Connecticut track, 2 transgender athletes won 15-plus state girls titles. Part of stats. Reports document 900-plus medals lost by female athletes to transgender competitors across 400 events in 29 sports. Okay, plus the injury thing. I could show you, but I'm not going to. The horrific videos of female wrestlers in Texas that were just getting beaten by boys on the mat. Plus it raises the question, too, like, what kind of a gutless individual are you that you would take a win and gloat about it competing against a girl? I mean, it just used to be a thing. It used to be a thing when we had a common sense world that you don't do. You don't hit women. You don't compete against them. You respect them. You don't. No, apparently not in the transgender community. So this is a big win, and we should take it. But where do you go from there? What if you are stuck in one of those states that doesn't have this yet or will never comply? Because there will be a few. I mean, it's going to be less and less. But I can imagine California, maybe New York, maybe somebody like Michigan, still allowing males to compete against and be in women's locker rooms. Well, I would tell you, not everybody has the opportunity to do this, but if this was my daughter's only chance to either stay safe or get an opportunity to move beyond, we know there's plenty of women, this is their only shot at going to college. There's plenty of girls like that, to get a scholarship and get a free ride and make it, they've worked their whole life at it, no matter what sport you're talking about. I'd move. Not everybody can do that, but I really would. If it was that important to my daughter, if she was an athlete, or if it was that, critical, because she was being harassed for speaking out against this nonsense, I'd move, but not everybody can. But not there yet, but a tremendous, tremendous win for female athletes. Good. sometimes common sense prevails. Not always. Hello, Supreme Court, but sometimes. So let's take the win and keep pushing forward. And it's, by the way, if you're not a sibling or a dad or a friend of a female athlete, fighting against this kind of crap, like I'm not either, still up to us to fight for their rights too, because this is just insanity. Just absolutely. It never should have gotten to this point, but it did, and they won. So good. Good for them. All right. Take the win from midweek where it stands and hope for more wins tomorrow. Make it a wicked awesome Wednesday. Thanks for hanging out. The replay. I'm putting the entire podcast now on TikTok. It's a better reach there. Sorry, just is. Sorry, Elon. I'm glad you saved free speech, but you're killing me with your algorithm changes. So that you can find me there, the entire thing as well as the replay on here on X and Facebook and YouTube. But the audio podcast, wherever you like to get them to, just download and share and all that good stuff. I appreciate you. Wicked awesome Wednesday. Take the wins where they come. I'll talk to you tomorrow.